Hey all you imps, welcome back to another reaction video. This time, this one should be coming out on Thanksgiving Day. And as such, we're reacting to some more Tasting History with Max Miller, a military Thanksgiving during World War II. I think I have watched this one, but I forget a lot of it. I think he talks about like the specific kitchens or something, like the cook kitchen. There's a special name for them. I forget what it is, but he talks about like the different how they like were able to cook stuff on the war front. But anyway, let's get started, shall we? Oh, and also, if you are watching this on Thanksgiving, I really hope that you have a lovely dinner with your family. Let's hope that there's not too many arguments, because let's face it, that always happens. And I want to give my thanks to you, imps. Thank you so much for helping me reach 100 subscribers, and I recently got a notification from YouTube saying like, "Hey, congratulations, you've reached 1,000 watch hours." Even though I'm looking at YouTube Studio and I'm like 50 hours away from that, but I don't know, maybe it hasn't updated it yet. I don't know, but you know, uh, all I need is 3 times that, and then I can get some super thanks started. Otherwise, I really appreciate you guys watching my content, and I hope I can continue doing this, despite all the mess ups with like computer problems and all that's happened recently. But I've tried to take some more precautionary measures to it. No idea if it's going to work, but we'll see. But let's get started, shall we? 3, 2, 1, go.
This is a Thanksgiving menu from the battleship USS Iowa during World War II. Now, at first glance, it seems pretty standard, but when cooked on a battleship, traditional dishes like these might not be exactly what you're used to.
Oh,
so
it's
I'm
on the
going to make a
ship,
few of these
right?
dishes using recipes from the 1945 Cookbook
Are those
of the
green
United
beans?
States Navy. So thank you to Babbel for sponsoring this video as we make Thanksgiving from World War II. This time on Tasting
Both Thanksgiving videos I recorded sponsored by Babbel.
So I've come across numerous menus for World War II era Thanksgiving dinners both from the Navy and
Tomato
other
juice
parts of the
cocktail.
military.
Dang it! Freaking storm! I'll be back whenever it loads, imps. Man, that was like a good 5-10 minutes there waiting. Anyway, let's continue, shall we?
And except for a few dishes here and there, they're all pretty similar. One description from a Thanksgiving dinner on the USS Iowa said the dinner served piping hot was a marvel in quality and quantity. Turkey noodle soup, saltines, roast tom turkey, oyster dressing, candied sweet potatoes, snowflake potatoes, giblet gravy, French peas, cranberry sauce, buttered asparagus, quartered lettuce.
Is snowflake potatoes the same as scalloped potatoes? Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of snowflake potatoes, but if it's anything like scalloped potatoes, then I'm not a big fan of them.
Thousand Island dressing, ripe olives, sweet mixed
I
pickles,
hate Thousand
hot
Island
Parker
dressing.
House rolls, butter,
I like
coffee,
ranch.
pumpkin, ice cream, fruitcake, cigarettes. Cigarettes actually appear on pretty much every Thanksgiving Day menu from the time. Now, I don't smoke, so no cigarettes for me. Instead, I'm going
Neither
to
do
focus
I.
on 3 side dishes: the cranberry sauce, candied sweet potatoes, and oyster
Oh, that's
dressing.
what that is.
And these recipes tend to use some unorthodox ingredients and methods because they had to. They were feeding thousands of crew members at sea. Powdered eggs, powdered biscuits, powdered this and powdered that. You'd have scrambled eggs. You never saw an egg that you could look at and say, oh boy, there's a yolk. It was all powdered. We did have a good Thanksgiving dinner, though. I don't know where they got the turkeys. They must have been frozen. And while I won't be using powdered eggs for anything, I will need things like dried sweet potatoes, canned oysters, and while the cranberries will be fresh, the sauce at the end tends to be more like something you'd get out of a can. Also, that man who was talking about the frozen turkeys during Thanksgiving.
I'm not crazy about cranberry sauce, but I think it should always be at the Thanksgiving table. For the longest time, my favorite thing was deviled eggs. I love deviled eggs. I mean, I still like them a whole lot, but like those were my favorite. Like I would be the one clearing that plate. And when it comes to like cooking a ham for Thanksgiving, like yes, turkey takes the precedent, but like we almost always cook a ham for Thanksgiving as well. That for me, that thing needs to be put in a slow cooker for like so long to where it's basically falling off of itself. It nearly tastes like brisket. I kid you not, and I love it.
said that in 1944 the USS Iowa crossed the international date line on Thanksgiving, and so they actually got.
In the last tasting history video, I talked about like what I cook for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Which I don't really do a lot of the cooking. I do a lot of the baking. But if you want to hear me ramble about that, check out the other tasting history video where it was talking about the history of the first Thanksgiving.
2 Thanksgiving dinners back to back. That is one thing about being in the military, you do get to travel a lot. Something made far more enjoyable when you actually speak the language of the place that you're going, with a little help from today's sponsor, Babbel. As one of the top leagues, the even 15 minutes learning description code description sauce. Pick over cranberries, wash, drain, add water. Heat to boiling temperature. Cook until all the skins pop open. Strain through fine sieve, stir in sugar, heat to boiling
I
point.
like
Cook 5
craisins.
minutes, skim, pour into molds or pans, chill until
I'm not
firm.
crazy about
Now
them, but
this
like when it
recipe,
comes
as
to
with
like
all of the
raisins,
Naval
I like
Cookbook
raisins
recipes,
more than
make
regular
a
raisins.
ton of food, about 100.
But when it comes to regular raisins, I love yogurt covered ones. Those are delicious. Otherwise, I don't care much for them. They belong in Raisin Bran. That's about it.
Portions. This one makes, I think, 10 pounds of cranberry sauce. So I'm going to cut back on the ingredients, but I'm going to keep the proportions for all of the recipes exactly the same. So for this, what you'll need is 1 pound of cranberries, 1 pound of sugar, and 2 cups of water. Give the cranberries a wash and then drain them, then add them to a pot with the 2 cups of water and bring to a boil on the stove. Let them boil for a few
It's
minutes
crazy
or
to
until
think that
all of
like
the cranberry
cranberries are
skins
like
have popped
grown on
open.
like
Then
swamps and
set a
shit.
sieve over a second pot and pour the cranberries and water into the sieve. Start pressing as much juice out of the berries as you can. The liquid will go right through, as will some of the finer pulp, so make sure you scrape that into the pot as well. That's most of the flavor. Once you got all the cranberries strained, add the sugar, stir it in, and set that over a medium-high heat and bring it to a boil. Let it boil for 5 minutes and then pour it into a pan. Actually, the recipe
Gonna add
says you should
Jello
skim
or
it and then pour it into a pan. I forgot to, so I poured it into a pan and then skimmed it, and it turns out it doesn't matter the order. Also, the recipe says that you can use a pan or a mold, and you could even put it like into a can so you get that canned cranberry shape. It's just going to take a lot longer to cool. Even this very thin layer in a pan took me 12 hours to chill in the refrigerator.
dang it. I'm getting so enamored in
Until it
just
was nice and
watching.
firm. As for the
This is
candied
why I
sweet
love this
potatoes,
channel.
what
It's like
makes
it's
this
almost
recipe
like
rather
ASMR,
different from
but
your
just
standard
but
candied sweet potato?
it's like ASMR but without the sound almost. It's just like the nice freaking the movements so like calm, collective, just looks good.
Is that it uses dehydrated sweet potatoes. The thing is, I'm not
Wonder if we
sure
made like a
to
DVD
what
that had
degree
like
they were
multiple of these like
dehydrated, but I could
videos.
only find one type of
Just cut
dehydrated
out the
sweet potato
sponsors.
online, and they come in
People would buy
slices,
it.
and the recipe says that they should be in slices that you leave whole, so I kind of figured I was on the right track. So for this recipe, what you'll need is 1 2/3 pound or 755 grams of dehydrated sweet potatoes, 2.5 cups or 5.
I like I like yams. And yes, I know sweet potatoes and yams kind of the same thing. I think there's a little difference. I'm not sure. But like I liked canned yams and I kind of like sweet potato casserole and I like sweet potato pie. I hate just eating a sweet potato straight or anything savory based in terms of sweet potato. I hate them. I hate sweet potato fries, tater tots, uh, baked sweet potato. It like for me, sweet potato needs to be sweet and moist for me to like it. I just don't like it otherwise. So when it comes to it, either sweet potato casserole or just over the pot with some extra brown sugar from a can.
500 grams of sugar, 1.5 teaspoons of
And before that, I wasn't crazy about them either. There was this one time a while back that I was like cooking dinner for my family, and freaking, I cooked some yams, and I was just because I was actually craving yams, but I don't usually eat yams, but I was craving them, and we had some, and I was like, well, they're not going to use them right now, so I'll cook them. So I did, and then like like they eat, and I'm like getting ready to fix up my plate because I was doing something else at the time. And I'm just like, hey, is there any more sweet potatoes? Because I was looking at the pot and it looked just like only mush was left. And they were just like, and then like they were just like, oh, you want to eat some of those? Because like they didn't expect me to eat any of them because I never really ate them that much anyway. And I was just like, dang, well, I guess I didn't say that I was going to eat them, so I can kind of understand the logic. But like, man, I did say if I didn't want to eat them, why would I cook them? I don't usually cook stuff that I wouldn't eat too, you know. I mean, I occasionally would, but like, why would I cook so many sweet potatoes? But luckily, the mush was enough to where it was like I got my fix. I basically just drank the mush, just like poured it into a bowl and just like freaking gulped it down like it was some like old freaking old D&D stew or something. Just like freaking downed it. Still tasted the same.
Salt, and 1 stick or 113 grams of butter. So first, soak the sweet potatoes in water for about an hour, and then put them in a pot with 2 quarts of water and bring to a simmer. Let them simmer for about 30 minutes until they're nice and tender, and then drain them, saving the liquid. Now, you're going to use this liquid to make the syrup. The thing is, I think there's too much liquid. The recipe says how much there should be at the beginning, but it doesn't say how much there should be by this point. So more could have steamed off, or the potatoes could have been even more dehydrated than the ones that I had, which would have soaked up more liquid. I honestly don't know,
Or maybe
but
it
I
was because
think
there's
it
so
might
many
be
people
too
that
much
like they
liquid,
were making a
so I
lot of
might just
this
use half of the
glaze.
liquid to make this syrup if you're going to make it. I used the full amount, and it just kind of made a bit of a watery syrup. Either way, mix the sugar and the salt into the water and set it over
Or maybe he had
medium-high
his
heat and
measurements a
bring
little
to a
off.
boil. Then let it boil for 5 minutes while you butter a baking dish and line it with the sweet potatoes. And the recipe says to leave the slices whole, so don't be tempted to mash them up. Then once the syrup has boiled for 5 minutes, pour it over the potatoes. And here you can see that I have made way too much syrup for this amount of potatoes, which really leads me to believe that they were more dehydrated potatoes, but I couldn't find them, so I did what I did. Then put the butter on
I
top
mean,
and
it
set
looks
it in the
good to
oven
me.
at
And
350
you're gonna
degrees
bake it
Fahrenheit,
again, so
175
like,
Celsius for 30 minutes. So these sweet potatoes are done in a syrup, but I have to ask, do you like marshmallow on your sweet potato? Personally, I actually prefer like a
sometimes I don't
streusel
usually eat
on
it. Maybe
top,
if it's
but
like a very
my
thin layer,
Nana
I'll mix them
made
together.
them with the marshmallow on top, and so it just conjures these memories of wonderful family Thanksgivings when I was a kid. And for me,
If I
and I
get
think
like a
most
bite of
people, that's
marshmallow or
actually
two,
what
like I'm not gonna
Thanksgiving is
complain.
all about. It's less about the
I
food
don't care
itself
much for like
and
just
more
the
about the
plain dry
memories
sugar
and the
on top. I don't
family
like that.
of during that time of year. And that's why I think it was so important to the US
Like I said, I like
government
it
during World
moist.
War II to make a commitment to supply Thanksgiving turkey, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie, American food for the American
Oh yeah, and
soldier,
wasn't there
in
like a problem with
England,
it or something?
Iceland, India,
With
Australia, in Malayan jungle and African deserts.
there was
Wherever
a
he is
problem with
fighting
like
in this global war,
what's it
the
called?
Army
Supply
endeavors
chains or
to
something.
feed him the food he likes, the food that makes him feel at home.
Dang it. Time for history.
I love reading the first-hand accounts of people's experiences during major world events like World War II, because even with the abject horror going on around them, people tend to grasp on to the happiness.
I'm not sure if it's going to be said in this video or not, but I remember I think he's talked about a video about like some cookies or something, or chocolate chip cookies, and during the war, and some of the family was just like, "I hope you enjoyed the cookies I sent you." Be like, "I never received any cookies." So then they sent like a fucked up batch where they like put like castor oil in it or something, some or laxatives in general, and then they found out that like somebody was got messed up over it, so they figured out who was doing it,
Moments that they
or
do
that just stopped it from
encounter. And
happening
for
again.
so many American soldiers during World War II, one of those moments was Thanksgiving dinner, even if the food that they were getting was not like the stuff they had back at home. You remember all of your early Thanksgivings with the family, and a certain feeling of nostalgia sets in. Then you take your mess kit, which is like an oval opened up, and go down to the mess hall and get your Thanksgiving dinner thrown into the mess kit. It ends up with the turkey and carrots all mixed, The cooks
Yeah,
do a
that's
great
fine.
job of trying to make it a festive meal, but when you mix it all together with the gravy and the mess kit, it's sort of like mush.
It was
I do
probably tasty
remember
much,
that.
though.
Thanksgiving mush. Actually, every Thanksgiving, my dad takes all the leftovers and makes it into what he calls Thanksgiving pie, which is essentially Thanksgiving in a dish that's baked, and I usually
I
defer it
don't
to
think that
the
sounds any
original
good
meal.
to me.
Of course, he is making that Thanksgiving Day mush or Thanksgiving pie in a level oven, a luxury not afforded to Navy cooks. I was on submarine duty in the Pacific in the year 1943. We were in the area off the coast of the Philippines. I remember having a complete turkey dinner on Thanksgiving. While the turkeys were cooking, the submarine took a dive. We went down too steeply, and the turkeys fell out of the oven onto the deck. The cook picked them up and put them back into the oven, and we ate them regardless of what may have gotten on them as a result of their fall. That meal was so good. And it wasn't
Hey,
just the
a
Navy that
little
got a
dirt
big
won't hurt.
Thanksgiving Day
It's
meal,
gonna
whether
go
it had
back
been
in the
on
oven
tour
anyway,
or
so it's gonna
not.
be
No,
disinfected.
every branch of service got to replace their daily monotonous C and K rations
Aw,
with
man, the K
turkey and
ration.
cranberry sauce on that day, though it was not an easy feat to accomplish. For instance, in 1942, U.S. Navy transport planes had to fly under threat of potential Japanese attacks above Guadalcanal in order to land at the recently captured Henderson Field so that they could deliver frozen turkeys to the Marines on the island. In addition to the turkey, every man got a cold bottle of Pepsi, and the cooks made
Of
some
course,
massive
Pepsi.
cakes. There's actually a picture of Lieutenant Colonel W.W. Stickney as he cuts one of the cakes using the sword of a Japanese officer.
Oh,
So
that's
even with pilots
awesome.
willing to brave enemy fire to deliver Thanksgiving, sometimes to men in the Pacific it just was not in the cards. On Thanksgiving Day, we made our landing on Leyte Island in the Philippines very early in the morning. We therefore missed our dinner aboard ship. Somewhere down the beach from where we landed, the Navy sent us ham and cheese sandwiches. My buddy happened to get one of the sandwiches and brought it back to our area. I was complaining to him for not bringing one back for me when he started having stomach cramps. At this point, I shook his hand and thanked him for not bringing me a sandwich. And it wasn't just in the Pacific that getting turkey to the men was difficult, because as Allied troops
Oh, the
pressed in
Jeep.
on the German homeland in 1944, supply lines in Western Europe had become stretched thin. But as I mentioned, the US government had made this commitment to get a Thanksgiving dinner to everyone in service. And the general opinion was that irrespective of the morale value of a holiday meal, failure to meet a widely publicized commitment would have a very unfavorable effect. And
Dang it.
so began the Great Turkey Lift of 1944. The first
Of
thing that
course.
the War Department had to do was get a bunch of turkeys. Now, turkeys were one of the foods that hadn't been rationed, but that year there was a serious shortage of turkeys because the military gobbled them all up. So those
Ah.
on the home front had trouble finding their own Thanksgiving turkeys, and so that led to headlines like "Turkey Black Market Spread All Over City" as housewives fought
Let's go
frantically and
and
often
just eat some goose or some swan like they used to.
futilely for the
Well,
precious
in
bird,
like
a
for the
rash of
Christmas.
OPA violations was breaking out all over town. But despite the illicit turkey trade, the U.S. military did get their hands on 3.2 million pounds of turkey and then
Dang, that's a lot of
proceeded to put
drumsticks.
all their eggs into one basket, or all their turkey into one ship. In October of 1944, the merchant vessel SS Great Republic left New York City with all of the turkey meant to feed the troops in Europe. On
And then it
November
got
18th,
bombed,
it
didn't it?
arrived in France and transferred all those turkeys to the
Oh.
cold chain, a fleet of refrigerated trucks which ran 24 hours a day back and forth to the front lines. They
Huh.
distributed the turkey along with
Oh,
several
there's
other
that oven I was
dishes
talking
to the
about.
nearly 2 million men and women who were in the American forces in Western Europe at the time. Now, some didn't receive the meal until a few days after Thanksgiving, but overall it was seen as a triumph and really appreciated by those in the field.
Well, yeah, like just
Thanksgiving
imagine
dinner.
freaking
There were
having
always
some nice
turkeys
hot
and
freaking stuff
pies
that
and
reminds you of
everything you would
home.
have at home. The food was often cold if you were in the field.
Okay.
Thanksgiving Day, 1944, the Ozark Division had just broken through the Siegfried Line at Aachen, but it was Thanksgiving. There was at
Yeah.
least one incident where delivering the turkeys to the front line turned out not to be a blessing. It was in the Hütgen Forest, a dark and densely wooded area along the Belgian-German border.
Oh,
And on
these guys
November
got like
23rd,
gunned down, right?
1944, during some of the most intense fighting, First Lieutenant Paul Boch got a call from his captain letting him know that there was a delivery of turkey dinners coming to him for every man in his outfit. And in his memoir, Boch recounts this phone call. Are you guys nuts? It's almost dark and my carrying parties have already made this trip up the hill with rations and water. I can't send them up there again. Besides, they can't feed a hot meal in the positions they're in now. Good God, they're right on top of the Jerry's. But the voice on the other end of the line said this order came from General Eisenhower himself and it needed to be followed. Besides, you don't want all of your men to miss out on this Thanksgiving dinner that every other man in the division is getting, right? To which Paul Boach said, of course I want to see them get a hot meal. I want to see them get 3 hot meals a day and a dry bed every night and a babe to sleep with. But let's save the turkey until they can pull back where they can enjoy it. Who the hell knows it's Thanksgiving except some silly bastard in the rear who gets hot meals anyway and just wants a change of diet? But the order, ridiculous as it was, had to be followed. And so he gathered a group of men to go fetch the turkey dinner and bring it up the hill back to the other men, all under the cover of darkness, but all still within line of sight of the German army.
Oh, man.
And as soon as they started heading back up that hill, German artillery opened fire. And Betch recalled the incident. 7 men had been wounded and 3 killed. An awful price to pay for a Thanksgiving dinner that nobody wanted to eat. A more uplifting Thanksgiving Day story took place a couple years earlier before the Normandy invasion as the British played host to Americans. And they set up a bunch of Thanksgiving Day meals all over the country, knowing how important this holiday was to them. They even lent Westminster Abbey to the Americans for a Thanksgiving Day service. The Abbey was crowded to the doors.
I was about to ask, like, what the heck is that?
Both our own and British.
I guess it's like a cathedral kind of thing.
Impressive gathering. Upon the conclusion of this service, we had a few moments before going to the Dorchester for lunch. The American Society in London gave a big Thanksgiving dinner at which the guests numbered somewhere around 600. It was a real Thanksgiving dinner. Turkey, chestnuts, cranberry sauce, and all the rest of it, winding up with pumpkin pie.
You know, I don't think I've ever had like roasted chestnuts,
this was followed by a
like you would in like the Christmas songs and stuff.
Palace with the royal family, Winston Churchill, and the King and Crown Prince of Norway. This, of course, was only attended by the top brass, but still, it's pretty cool. Also, there is an old newsreel of the event at Westminster Abbey with some amazing commentary.
Thanksgiving Day is the great celebration across the Atlantic. It is the day when hard-hearted businessmen stop grinding the faces of the poor and think tenderly of their white-haired mothers. It is the day when old gentlemen of wealth chat chummily with beggars on a seat in Central Park. In fact, O. Henry and Thanksgiving are to America what Dickens and Christmas are to Britain.
And while I wouldn't put it exactly
don't know what that last part is, but all right.
It is a very important holiday for us Yanks. So important that it was paramount for the U.S. government to deliver Thanksgiving to the troops even during the midst of World War II.
Well, yeah, it's a massive holiday for America.
To have that Thanksgiving dinner if I don't finish this oyster dressing. So for this recipe, what you'll need is 1 pound of day-old white bread. A popular bread to use at the time was
Wonder Bread.
That's what I'm going to use. 1/4 teaspoon dried thyme, 1½ teaspoons dried sage, 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper, 1/4 cup of diced onion, 1 cup of chopped celery, 1/4 stick or 28 grams of butter, and 1/2 cup of canned oysters. Also, the original recipe calls for 20 pounds of bread, so can you just imagine how much stuffing that would make?
A lot.
I think that this may be the least seasoned stuffing I've ever come across. Either way, cut the bread into little cubes and then mix it with the thyme, sage, salt, and pepper. Then take half of the butter and heat it in a pan and fry the onions and celery until they've turned translucent, about 8 to 10 minutes. Add those to the bread and then add all of that into a buttered baking dish and pour the remaining butter melted over the stuffing. Then put that in the oven and bake for 1 hour at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 175 Celsius. Now, when this finally comes out of the oven, it's going to be really, really dry. And that, I would think, is because it's going to be stuffed into a turkey or a chicken and then roasted, which will make it much more moist. The thing is, the recipe says it doesn't need to be stuffed. It can just be eaten as is, making it the driest dressing ever.
Maybe that's where they put the extra
oysters with their juice until the edges start to curl. And
I was about to say, maybe that's where the or maybe they put the oyster juice in it.
And here,
okay, what I'm trying to say is maybe that's where like the extra sauce from the potatoes were supposed to go. Like you were supposed to pour it on top of the dressing.
We are a Thanksgiving meal from a World War II battleship.
Also,
I
doesn't
didn't
look
roast
too
an
bad.
entire turkey the way that it was done on the battleship. It's pretty much the way that it's done today, but I did make a turkey breast just so I would have something to eat with this cranberry sauce. As you can see, it's very jiggly, even more
Hello.
more red, I think, than what you get in a can. Here we go. Mmm. Mmm. Okay, that's really good. So I really, really like that, but whoa, is it sweet. It uses a lot more sugar than your typical cranberry sauce today.
Yeah.
It's almost like dessert, which I don't mind in a cranberry sauce, frankly, but I think it might be too sweet for some people. But it's a wonderful color.
I'm pretty sure you would not care
Texture is really
if you were
nice,
World War
and
II.
you do get that cranberry flavor. Now on to the sweet potatoes. So they are very, very soft. They spent quite a bit of time cooking, so makes sense. Here we go. They're not as sweet as I thought they would be with all that syrup. They are firmer as well than I would expect if we used fresh sweet potatoes.
Yeah, I was thinking,
I guess
they
just
probably wouldn't be too mushy.
will never absorb enough liquid, but they're good. I'd go with regular sweet potatoes, though. And finally, the oyster stuffing. Now, I gotta say, this is the driest stuffing I've ever had. And like I said, it did say that it could be made without actually stuffing the bird. But also, I would probably chop up the oysters. And maybe they did and just cut it out of the recipe. Really big. But here we go.
Yeah, probably it was chopped oyster. Kind of like cream of mushroom almost, but it was like cream of oyster maybe. I don't know.
It's really dry, but the flavor is surprisingly good. See, I thought it was going to have way too little flavor. I would have usually put more spices, more onions, more everything.
Hey, celery goes a
And I
long
still
way in
probably
stuffing.
would, but they do come through. So you are getting that, and you do get that kind of crunch from the bread. It's not super soft. It's just definitely a lot drier than I would like. Now, before I wrap up, I wanted to offer a Thanksgiving message, not from me, but from FDR, President of the United States in 1943. May we, on Thanksgiving Day and on every day, express our gratitude and zealously devote ourselves to our duties as individuals and as a nation. May each of us dedicate his utmost efforts to speeding the victory which will bring new opportunities for peace and brotherhood among men. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you next time on Tasting History.
Happy Thanksgiving, imps. And I know I said in the last video, but since this one is on Thanksgiving itself, I really hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope the food is delicious. I hope that you can be home for the holiday. I hope that you can be thankful for the stuff that you have been blessed in your life, no matter how small or how large. And I want to thank you all for watching and for subscribing. And I'll see you in the next video. But be sure to check out the gaming channel. We should have some Thanksgiving-based videos coming up, or probably already up by the time you're seeing this. But yeah, bye. All right, you imps, fall in line. Only you can build up the numbers in the imp army, so that Oni-Chan, your leader, can prevail. I look forward to meeting you on the battlefield of the YouTube algorithm. Have a lovely day.